Alright, this may not have been covered on YouTube before, but this is how to get pressure sensitivity going in Deluxe Paint and TVPaint on the Amiga. Now back in the day, you would have had to have invested in a pretty expensive graphics card for a big box Amiga like an Amiga 2000 or an Amiga 3000 or an Amiga 4000. And back in the day, this was just an impossible dream for a kid like me to own such a thing. This is sort of at the genesis of, Photoshop 1.0. The Amiga and TVPaint was doing all of that stuff that Photoshop could do and could outperform Macs and PCs of the day. So it was pretty incredible, and it's really a lot of fun to get going. I'm using it on an accelerated Amiga 1200 using an FPGA accelerator by the Apollo team called the Vampire V1200, which gives it 32-bit color output. I'll be working at 720 by 480 resolution, and although this isn't really a way to get out to print, you certainly could try to get out to print with higher resolutions with this. You can do some drawings that are sort of indiscernible from something you would have done on an iPad or a modern Cintiq or Wacom tablet device. So it's pretty incredible for what it can do. So first off, I had to hunt down, with TVPaint has its own baked-in Wacom pressure sensitivity drivers and support for a few other types of tablets, and it's kind of hard to find. I actually am friends with some of the developers who create the modern TVPaint, which is used in animation studios all over the world. And I was able to discover the exact model number of one of the tablets that they used to use back in the day. And I hunted it down on eBay. It's absolutely massive, 12 by 12, I think, tablet. It is, let me find it here. It is this device. Here, it's huge. There's the joystick for scale. It is a serial port connection and comes with a special pen. If the pen that comes with yours doesn't have, like the little bluish eraser, it doesn't look something like this at least, it's probably the wrong pen. And it comes with a wall wart, black power supply. And let's see here. This is the model number of the tablet. It is the UD-121-R. So goodbye to those on eBay after I post this. But this is the tablet you need, at least one of them that you need to get pressure sensitivity going in TVPaint on the Amiga. You'll also need this adapter. This is, I think it's a 9-pin to, I don't know how many pins this is, the serial port adapter on the Amiga. And there it is from the top view, bolted in there. And I've had for the longest time this serial port cable extension, which is super, super handy going into the back of my 1200. And I use this with a video grabber and some other things, but if you can, I really recommend you get one of these. It just makes life a lot easier. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and launch TVPaint. I'm going to put on my glasses and do some drawing and show off some basics. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my mouse on the Amiga, and I'm going to open up TVPaint. Now when you install TVPaint, it's 3.6, and by the way, the latest version and last version for the Amiga is available in the TVPaint forums for free at www.tvpaint.com. Sign up for their forums, and I believe there's, just do a search, but there's the last Amiga version available for free from the original developers, which is pretty great. They won't open source it, unfortunately, I believe. I don't know if the source code is lost or what the problem is there, but that would be awesome. But yeah, go grab a copy, install it. Once you get it installed, you're going to double click on the TVPaint icon, and this is where you'll find the hidden settings for choosing your tablet and the serial port for it. I'm going to go ahead and right click from the drop down menu up here, and there you go, touch tablet. Port number is going to be 0. The type for this particular tablet, I have it set to Wacom A3 plus pressure. Now, because the tablet is 4:3 or square aspect ratio, when I draw at 1280 by 720, it doesn't really get the whole screen. It doesn't scale properly. There are some little workarounds within TVPaint to do that. It has a zoom window that I use, but that's the setting you need. The other thing you might want to consider doing is in your system preferences, open up System, preferences and go to your serial port, and you might want to just boost the baud rate to its highest level if you want to, and the buffer size could be increased. I used to have it at default for the buffer, but that will just make your serial port communication with the tablet a little bit snappier. So we'll close that down, and I'm just gonna choose my resolution of my desktop that I'm running, which is 1280 by 720 and 32-bit color, ARGB. And I have my Amiga 1200 connected to an InDivision AGA MK2, which is a chip that sits on top of the Amiga's graphics chip and outputs its signal to DVI for the Amiga graphics. But for the HDMI that you're seeing, it's just native output from the accelerator, from the Vampire V1200. So with that, I'm just gonna hit OK. Okay, I've got TVPaint open. It looks like my cursor is working. And the first thing you're going to want to do in TVPaint is be aware of the background and the foreground color. So as I left click on this little black down here, you'll see that the center dot up here in the upper left turns black. And if I right click on any of these colors, that is the background erase to color. I usually set that to kind of a medium light gray when I'm drawing. And the skull and crossbones, if you left click it, will erase the page. If I make a mark now and I hit the skull and crossbones, that will erase. You've also got, all these other tools to draw with. And you actually have layer support. So here's the layer support button, layer control. And what I like to do is click on this bottom layer, and it will say create that layer. It doesn't exist, so I'm going to create it. And I'm going to use the pencil tool, and I'm going to right click on the pencil tool. Now with the tablet, on this particular tablet, you can't right click, none of the buttons are active. So hold down the left Amiga key and click on that pencil tool, and you'll get the Alt options. You can also right mouse button click on it, and you've got some options for the pencil. I usually turn off inversion, velocity off, and pressure on. And so now when I draw with black on this canvas, you can get a kind of a pencil-y sketch look. So you can do your rough art this way, or finished art this way. I like to sometimes do a rough this way and rough things out. If I were doing a face or some kind of cartoon here. And it's kind of hard for me to get used to drawing on the tablet sometimes, so bear with me. But if you do your rough, drawing down there, you can then, I don't know why this was ever an option in TVPaint, but you can simply jump to the middle layer and use a different brush and do your final line work there. But if you wanted to differentiate this from your middle ground, what you can do is click on that layer and turn it to red, green, or blue. So I like to turn it to blue generally. Blue is one of my favorite colors. And click on that middle layer, and now I'm going to cycle through these tools by clicking on them. And I will go to the pen brush, and I'm going to hold down the left Amiga key and click and go to the tool options. This will be different when you first see it, but the start size is the minimal amount of pressure that you're going to be using, and the size 2 is the maximum amount of size that your brush stroke will make when you press very hard on the tablet. And so turn off velocity and pressure on, and then we can just go in and try a couple of brush strokes. So that already looks pretty okay. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty brush-like. And you only have one step of undo. You can hit the U key, scribble, and U on the keyboard, and that will undo, or you can click right here. I don't think there are any options for undo if you right-click on it. I don't think there's any more than one. The Amiga's memory probably didn't have enough back in the day. Another thing that's really handy is hit the M key, or you can hit the magnifying glass down on in the toolbar. M key will give you this window, and you can do a little zoom in. There are some controls for zooming in and out down in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can actually move around and pan around the image like this, and you can zoom in and out to get finer details. So I like to zoom in a step, and since I'm on that middle layer, I'm drawing over the top of my reference layer, and I can just go in and do my fine detail work, my final line work. And it does a pretty nice job. The pen brush is not too bad. And I don't know how my skills are at this point. It's a bit early where I am right now. But yeah, so you can already get, you know, the idea. Hit M. I'll move down to his chin now. M, and then zoom in his neck, and maybe, you know, some cross hatching. And if I were to save this to a JPEG and post it on Instagram, you really wouldn't ever know that it was done on a 25-year-old machine, 25-plus-year-old machine. Pretty incredible. And so some of the other things that TVPaint can do, you've got the cut brush. If you click here and you make a box around a selection, you can stamp it down again. You can, where's the scale tool? Oh, right click here. This is the cut brush tool. So you can double the size of your brush, scale it up, undo, and it does try to anti-alias and make it a bit, oops, undo. I turn that off. It tries to anti-alias it a bit. You can, you know, divide by half. You can freely rotate your your cut brush. You can do all kinds of things like outlines, pressures on. Pressure will give you sort of a pressure sensitive, you know, opacity. If I just tap it in, and you can actually paint. So anything you pick up on the screen, you can paint with. For example, if I double click the circle tool, it will change it from being an outline to a solid fill. And then I can click on the gradient and right click it, choose a gradient, and we'll choose a circular gradient and close that down, and I'll make a sphere, and there is the light source. I can then pick up with the cut brush that shape, and then I'm gonna divide it by half and clear the screen. I'm actually gonna clear the bottom screen as well. And I'm gonna turn on pressures on, and you'll see that when I lightly press, there you get this interesting 3D effect. Let's try that with a different gradient. And let's see, we've got different gradients to cycle through. One, two, I think there's a sky one here, which is kind of nice. And you can create your own gradients as well. So there's a little sky, a little 3D sphere, and I'm going to cut that out. If you double click, 1, 2, you can do a lasso for your cut brush. So you can cut out, you know, uneven shapes if you wanted to. So I'm going to cut this out and try to draw with this. So you can see this would be really useful for, I don't know, like clouds or stuff like that. You can also change the mode of the brush that you are working with. So you can change this brush to a smear brush here in this drop-down list. So you can use that to kind of smear the canvas around. And you can get very, very subtle with this. You've got a colorize, just regular color brush. You have a colorize. So if I take maybe an orange here, you can see those different effects. There's a colorize, there's a tint, which is more subtle, I believe. No, about the same. Let's see here. So you can do all kinds of interesting things. I think there's a negative mode, maybe. Replace pantograph. The pantograph is interesting as well. Let me choose the airbrush tool. I'm going to clear the screen. Oh, okay, sorry. I just remembered something about TVPaint. Why my image went away. Hitting the J key, TVPaint has what's known as the spare page. So if I hit the J key, my drawing will disappear. But it's actually, if you imagine, on a background layer. So if I'm doing a new drawing on top of it, if I'm doing a new drawing, of anything. I'm just going to do color mode and make some scribbles here. If I wanted to transparently fade in that drawing that is on the spare page, I can grab the airbrush tool. Let me cycle through until I grab it, and then go to merge mode. And if I begin to draw, you can see the spare page fade through. So that is a very handy feature. You can imagine using that for, well, for a lot of things, really, but pretty powerful. Pretty powerful effect. So if I hit J, I can jump to the proper spare page, make some adjustments on it, and paint on it in color mode, not merge mode. And jump back, and then I can go to merge mode and scratch through bits of it if I wanted to, using any tool that you can use. So I'm going to clear the page. There's some other things. The cut brush, you can use perspective tools as well. Let me make another one of those gradient spheres. Oops, that's merge mode again. We get back to color mode, and we've got our gradient on. So I'm going to cut this out and clear the page, and we're going to turn on this perspective mode. Now I believe the keyboard, yes, the 10 key on the right hand side of the Amiga 1200 the 6 key is angling this backward. The 7, 8, 9 key, so you can tilt and rotate in space. And let's see, the 0 key, one of these, I think enter, one of them should bring it back to where it was, but you'll just have to play around. I don't use this too often, but it's there and it's pretty cool. I think if you right click, there's some options here, so you can reset everything if you zero it out. That's an easier way, maybe. And there's also another mode in there, I think. Maybe not. That you can place the center of the objects or offset, I think. Never mind that. Anyway, that's the cut brush, that's the perspective tool. You've also got a font tool, so if you're doing video overlay stuff, if I right click on the A key, you can create a brush that will say various things like only Amiga, and choose the size of that and the font as well, and create a brush. So there it is. It uses the foreground, color that you picked, which should have been a red. I don't know why that's off. It's probably, it's so strange. Oh, it's because, all right, the reason I'm getting weird colors is because I'm on my reference layer, which I made blue. So I'm going to make that just on, and now we're getting the correct color. So you can actually say smooth, and you can add a border to these fonts if you want. Here's red, and you can say the border. Maybe not, no border. And smooth, and create brush. So it does an okay job. It tries to anti-alias and put it into, whatever background art is there. Not bad for titles. It's certainly going to be higher quality than anything out of Deluxe Paint. You also have, arc tools if you need to do this kind of drawing. And if I right click there's some options for that as well. There's actually a multi-spline tool here. I think if you hit the return key, it will then make an arc based on those points. I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen and make another sphere, yet another one, to show off some of the layer effects. Actually, if I do that on the middle layer, and I go to this little crown, I believe, and right-click it. Actually, those are scripts that will do certain effects, which may or may not be very interesting. but there are actually, on this little gear, I think, yeah, here we go, you can do things like a drop shadow. So do a shadow and choose the distance and the power of it. So maybe like a 40, and we'll smooth it a bit to give it a little bit of a blur and hit apply. So a really nice little drop shadow. You can do other things like, you know, all these kind of standard Photoshop, you know, filters. And we'll apply with direction. There's a bump map, which used my spare page to create that bump map. That was interesting. So if I go J and jump to my other layer and clear it out, and right about where that little sphere was, make a bunch of little lines using my pen tool. Let me make sure I'm in the right space. Oops, undo. Keep making a sphere. Why is that? Okay, there we go. I'm gonna make a bunch of black lines in there. Kind of contoury little speckles. Maybe an X. This will actually add a bump map to my sphere. And we'll make the depth 2 and the smooth 1. So there you go, kind of nice. And we've got chroma key. You can actually do chroma keying in this. So if you wanted to get rid of this blue, hit apply, and it will try to eliminate it. Hit undo. And I can actually tap here, select I want to get rid of this blue, and increase the range of it, and maybe the fade, and hit apply. And it will start to remove color. So if you've got something shot against a green screen, you can actually edit in that fashion in this program. Pretty powerful. You've got various convolutions to affect an image. Extrusion, I haven't really played too much with, which is kind of an emboss, I guess, or something like that. Flip vertical, flip horizontal. You've got a mosaic mode. You can do all these kind of things. There's a noise. There we go, negative mode. And print dots. Your comic book look. Smoothing. There's a tornado. So you can adjust the area. Here's a little tornado effect. And apply twirl. Here we go. And you keep applying it. So much you can do with this software that I haven't touched upon, but I hope anyway that gives you a bit of an introduction to the software, and I would encourage you just install it and explore its possibilities and see what you can do. I'm gonna move on to another point of getting this same tablet to work with pressure in Deluxe Paint 4. Yeah, so here we go, next. Hey folks, this video went a little longer than I expected, and it's kind of late here now. I woke up in the middle of the night, just decided to like finish the editing on this and get it out there. I'm gonna save getting pressure to work in Deluxe Paint 4 for my next video. But if you like what you see, like and subscribe and spread the word, and definitely leave a comment down below and say hello, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks again.